Using SharePoint Designer 2010, you can easily automate your business processes by creating workflows. Now, there's some extremely powerful type of workflows you can create using this environment because of the awesome facilities that are available to you. So I'll be showing you in this video how you can create a list workflow, and then while doing that, I'll be explaining the Workflow Designer environment and how you can take advantage of it to its fullest capability. I'll be making my workflow on this site called Sales. So first, let me go ahead and go to SharePoint Designer and show you that we are at the Sales site in SharePoint Designer. So I'm going to click on Workflows first. The Workflows section in the navigation pane shows me any different workflows which are available to me. First thing to note is that there are 3 out-of-the-box globally reusable workflows that you can start using right away. Approval, collect feedback, and collect signatures. And then you can make new types of workflows. List workflows, which you can use to attach to any list, and that's going to be the focus of this video. You can also make reusable workflows, which you can attach to a content type and then use that content type within other lists and libraries. And you can use site workflows. Site workflows don't have to be attached to a list or library at all. They can just be attached to a site, and they'll execute on the site's properties itself. So in our case, we're going to attach our workflow to a list. I'm going to click on List Workflow. It shows me all the different lists which came out of the box with the team site when I created this team site. Also, any of the other custom lists if I had created them. For example, I do have one custom list here called Customers, and I can attach the workflow to that as well if I wish. In my case, though, I'm going to attach my workflow to the calendar list. So I'll click on Calendar. My workflow name is going to be Process Events. Basically, when the events are generated in the calendar, I'm going to be looking at the category of events, and depending on the category, I'll be taking certain actions. Now, the first thing that I want to do right now is I want to set the workflow status to just starting. I'll be putting that action, the setting workflow status action, within this step 1. Here's my action button up top in the ribbon. There's all the different actions that I have available to me. The one that I want to look for is set workflow status, which is right here. The underlined part is the one that I can configure. So I'll click on this. It says that there are 3 different options that I have: canceled, approved, or rejected. The 3 different types of status I can set for the workflow. But you're not limited to that. If you do want, you can make your own workflow status here. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'll just type in starting. So keep in mind that this is not just a drop-down list, but it's actually a combination drop-down, meaning you can type text in your own word or words, or you can pick from the existing options. All right, so that's my first thing, setting the workflow status for this item to starting. Right below that, I'm gonna put an action here to send an email. What I want to do here is that every time a new calendar item is created, I want to send an email to all the members of the site telling them that, hey, a new item has been created in the calendar, please take note. So that's going to be send an email action. Now I can go ahead and click on action again and look for send an email, or I can actually start typing some words which are in the action. For example, in this case, email. Now when I typed in email, it says press enter to insert send an email, because that's the only action that is available which has the word email in there. I'll press enter on my keyboard. Here we go. It's showing me send email to these users. Click on these users now, and I need to configure this composition window for my email. For the 2 here, what I want to do, as I mentioned before, is send an email to all the members of the site. So I'll choose the address book icon and look for the Wingtip intranet members of the site. Add that to selected users. All done. For the subject line, what I want is I wanted to say the new event created and then dash and then the actual title of the event. So for that, I'm going to use this ellipsis button here, which gives me a string builder box. I'll type in here new event created dash, and then I'm going to have a dynamic value being pulled in. So I'll click on the add or change lookup. And for the current item, the current calendar item, I'm going to put or pull its title. Here we go. Okay, so the current item title is going to be placed right here, and that's going to be part of the subject line. All right, and now for the body of this email. I'll type in new event has been created. Please take note. And then I'll have the dynamic value here showing the actual URL to this new event that's been created. To put the URL right here, you need to do add or change lookup. And for the data source current item, which is the current calendar item, because that's what we're attached to, the calendar list, I'm going to look for the encoded absolute URL field. This returns the URL for the item. Now, because this is a rich text box, I can take information. For example, I can take this word event, I can change the font, I can change the font size here, make it bold, italicize, underline, change the color. All that I want to do, I can do here in this rich text box. And when this email gets sent out, it's going to be automatically of type HTML. In addition, I can also link up words. So use this link button if I wanted to link up any of these words in this email. Okay, I'm done here, so I'm going to click on OK. Now what I want to do is create a conditional statement. So I'll go right below the then email, and because I want to make a condition, I'll have to click on the condition button. Here's all different conditions that I have available to me. The one that I want is if current item field. So if the item in the calendar, if there's a certain item field and it equals a certain value, then do something basically. I'll click on that. First thing I need to put is which field am I interested in? Well, there's a category field in calendar item, so I'll pick that. If it equals a certain value. Now, because there are certain predefined values for categories, it lets me pick from that list. I'm going to choose holiday. So if the category of this new event being created is holiday, do something. That do something in this case is going to be go ahead and create a new announcement in the announcements list. And the new announcement is going to have the title of this calendar event, meaning it's going to tell everybody that here is a holiday coming up, for example. That's the announcement. So I'm going to start typing in saying create. Now, because I typed in the word create, it's telling me that there are 3 results. You can click on, you can press enter, or you can click right here and it gives you a list to choose from. Create list item, created by a specific person, or created in a specific date span. Now I want the create list item. Now click on this list. The create new list item dialog box asks me which list do you want to create a new list item in. For me, it's going to be announcements. The title column, the title field in announcements is already a required field, so that's why the asterisk is there. I have to fill in this field with some value. So I'm going to choose this field and click on modify to assign it some value. The value for the new announcement is actually going to be the title for the calendar item. So I'll click on this ellipsis button. Actually, I'll click on the function, sorry about that. Click on the FX button here. And here I'm going to choose that the data source is going to be current item, which once again signifies the calendar. And the field in calendar item is going to be the title field. Here we go. Okay and okay. So the title of the new announcement is going to be filled in with the title of the calendar item. One more thing I'm going to add here. So add, I'll fill up the body field of the announcement with the description field of the calendar item. All set. And that's going to be my new list item in announcements list. I'll click on OK. Now I'm going to create the rest of this conditional statement here. if the current category equals holiday, do this, and I'll choose an else statement here as well. So I'm going to put my cursor right below that and click on the else if branch up above. It makes a new else branch, and here I need to put in a condition. So condition, if current item field equals value, field once again is going to be category, value this time is going to be business. Now I want to assign a task to a person if the category is business. So here I'm going to click on action and say assign a to-do item. The to-do item in this case is going to be, click on next here for the custom task wizard that opened up, book meeting room, finish. So that's my new task that's going to get assigned to somebody or some people. I'll click on these users, and I'll click on the people groups from SharePoint site option here, and when I click on add, it's going to let me go ahead and pick from any user in my site. Click on add here, and I'm going to search for a user. Her name is Janice. Here we go, Janice Galvin. I'll add her. Click OK. So now she's been added to selected users. I could have more users or groups if I wanted to assign a task to. Click OK. Here we go. We're done with this. Once the workflow gets to this point, what I want is I want it to end up by setting the workflow status to completed. So once again, I'll type in here set workflow. I'll click on enter here on my keyboard, and here we go, set workflow status. In this case, I'm going to assign it a new value, but before I assign it a new value, let me show you that in the drop down, the other value that I had put in before, that starting value is now there in the drop down list. What I want to put in here is completed. Okay, set workflow status to completed. Now, it is always good to name your steps something specific instead of just having it be named step 1, step 2, etc. So I'm going to click on the step 1 here and type in process items. All right. In addition, you can also have multiple steps, of course, within a workflow. So if I want to create a step here, I can go ahead and click on step, or I can go down here and click on the step button here. So I'll go to the top here, click on the step button in the ribbon, and this new step here is going to be just called starting. What I really want is this action and this action here to be moved to the starting step. Now, moving these two actions here, this one and this one, to here is not just dragging them there. The dragging does not work when the Workflow Designer environment. But the next best thing is available, and that is click on the one that you want to move and use the move up or move down button in the ribbon. So I'll click on move up. Here we go. This as well, move up. And now these two actions have been moved to the starting step. So very easy to move actions around within a step or from step to another step. One last thing that I want to show you about this Workflow Designer environment is the ability to create something called a parallel block. Notice that right now, the first action will run and then the second action will run right after that. That's why the word then is there. If I wanted to run these two actions in parallel, then what I would do is go up top here and click on parallel block to add the parallel block here. Whatever actions I put or conditions I put in this parallel block will run in parallel. So I'll use my move up button to move this action within the parallel block. Same thing here. Now it will execute both of these actions at one time instead of waiting for the first one to finish before it does the second one. And that's what you can see by the word and instead of then. Okay, so I'm all set. My workflow is done. If I'm not ready to publish this, if I don't want this to be available to my site yet, just wanted to keep it in draft mode, for example, I can click on save. Or if I am ready, I can go ahead and click on publish, and publish will save it and then publish the workflow to the site and specifically to this calendar list. I'll go ahead and click on publish. It validates it, saves it of course, and then goes ahead and publishes out. Also, it creates any necessary forms that are needed, any necessary settings that need to be put in to the environment. It does that. Now, one thing that I've not done, and I'm going to show you how to do this right now, is make it so this workflow starts automatically every time a new calendar item is created. And you can do that by clicking on the workflow settings button and choosing the start workflow automatically when a new item is created, or when an item is created. Now I'm going to go ahead and republish this. So this time around, every time I go to calendar, make a new event, automatically this workflow is going to get executed. I'll go to my site, go to the calendar list, and I know that on May 31st is going to be Memorial Day, so I'll go to May 31st and add a new item, new calendar item right here. So my new calendar item, the title here is going to be Memorial Day, and it's going to be an all-day event, so I'll click on this checkbox to make an all-day event. Information here is going to be just our offices will be closed. Now here's the most important part. Since I'm checking for category in my workflow, I want to set this category to holiday. Okay, all set. I can click on the save button here. And at this point in time, if this workflow has worked like it's supposed to, then as the workflow designer environment, let me click on edit workflow here to show you the workflow. If it is holiday and if it catches that, it should make an announcement in the announcements list. Let's see if it did that. I'll go to all site content in my sales site, click on announcements list. Here's the new announcement. It says Memorial Day for the title of the announcement, because that's the title of the calendar item. And if you click on it, you see that the body of the announcement now is filled up with the description of the calendar item. Wonderful. Let's run another test. Going back to calendar here, I'm going to add a new event here. It's going to be called board meeting, and it's going to be category business. Let's go ahead and save this. So let's see what should have happened. If I go to Workflow Designer again here in SharePoint Designer, it says that it should assign a new task called Book Meeting Room to Janice. All right. If I check the status of this workflow currently by clicking on this board meeting link and clicking on this workflows, it shows me that the workflow status currently is starting. Now I'll go to the tasks list in the site, and here's my new task assigned to Janice Galvin, Book Meeting Room. So I'll go ahead and quickly sign in as Janice. And while signed in as Janice, I'm going to click on the Book Meeting Room task and say complete this task. All right, let's sign back in as the administrator. And let's see that in the calendar list, if I click on the board meeting now, what is my workflow status? Here we go. The workflow status for process events workflow is now completed. And that's what we expected. So this is how you can make a list workflow and attach it to any lists or libraries in your site. Also remember, as I mentioned before, that you can also create reusable workflows and attach them to content types. Then you can use those content types in different lists and libraries. And there's another type of workflow called site workflow. You want to look at that as well, because then you can execute actions on a site and not specific to a list or a library.